Hi everyone, I'm Kira and this is your weekly intuitive tarot reading for December 137. So that's the first week of December. So let's have a look and see what's going to come up this week for us all. Alright, we've got the first one is a major arcana of the devil, followed by the justice card, number 11 in this deck, and number 9 of wands. Okay, so what do I think of when I see the justice card? Balancing scales. The middle of the week is going to be about making some decisions. But let's look at the beginning of the week. Monday through Wednesday, give or take. The devil has come up. Okay, when you have a look at this, it's not a bad card. A lot of people look at this card and they go, oh, yikes. No, it's about looking to see about being mindful and observant. About anything that might be taking your power away. So, this is about your unconscious speaking to you. And this is what the black in the card represents as your unconscious. It's about this pull or dichotomy of how other things are pulling your power away. So think about things like, the shoulds and the should nots, the do's and the don'ts. Any of those sort of auto responses that you might have in your life, or the barriers that you have put in place based on your conditioning, and maybe conditioning or faulty thinking that really isn't serving you. So that's what this card's trying to ask you to look at. So if you look at situations in your life or events that come up, try and keep in mind, okay, look at it and think, okay, am I in auto response mode? Is this how I always respond? And is that serving me? Or is my unconscious, think about how your unconscious might be trying to speak to you about how you're being sort of tied to something that no longer serves you, because that is a part of what this card's trying to say. It's about that imbalance. It can be around things like maybe being tied to the material world in an unhealthy way, or a way that's driving you or motivating you that really isn't serving you. So it's all about, is it serving you or not? And the unconscious, or this sort of place of knowing inside you, wants you to really look at that. It could be that you've got, a few bad habits going on now. We are looking at the first week of December, so it could also be sort of an indication to be aware of, any bad habits that you might be sort of falling into. Are you being particularly stressed at the moment? You're feeling that silly season starting to really come upon you, or work's piling up, and you get that sense, I've got to get it all done before I go on holidays. And is that really driving you then to maybe come home and maybe drink a little bit too much wine with your dinner? Or is it around you becoming a workaholic and just driving yourself into the ground, So it's around imbalances in your life that are being imposed upon areas that are being, sort of conditioned areas of faulty thinking or faulty beliefs that are no longer serving you. They are not serving you in your life right now. So it's asking you to look at that. Some of the questions you might be asking yourself are things like, who or what is controlling my life? Where do I have choice? Or something like, where is there a challenge around my personal power? Do I want to stay in the position that I'm in? Do I want to stay in this position of being driven by my faulty thinking or values that aren't serving me? And if we do, that's your choice. But if not, think about, okay, now that I know that, what can I do differently? A bit of a thing could be sort of, where is the devil I know? Where's that illusion? And where am I a slave to my desires or illusions? And, it's fine to have those, and it's fine to have bits of that in our life. It helps to keep life real, and it is part of life, that sort of being driven by desires and our materialism is part of life. And it's about, is it something I want? Is it in balance? Or is it getting a little out of control? Okay, so now we've got the Justice card. So as I said, I think this is, the two of these together is saying, you're going to be asked to make some decisions around that, to look to see what would the wise owl say about that situation? Where is my objectivity? Where is the truth, and what do I know? So it's around really looking at that and being really honest with yourself, and be aware of how we use our words to express that. How do we communicate our truth around that? I was thinking when I see this Justice card, I think of things like, you say more with action than you do with words. Sometimes words can kind of get us in a pickle. They have that double-edged sword. It could be around, you might make a decision regarding some sort of, following some sort of desires or illusions, and you make a decision about how you want to go about that. But it's like, think about, it doesn't necessarily mean that's right for everyone else, everyone else in your family. So it could be around, think about, yes, communicate it true for yourself and share with others what you're going to be doing differently perhaps, but it's about being really true around remembering it's about you and what's right for you, and not imposing it on others, because you don't want to end up tying other people up into faulty way of reacting because they're trying to please you type thing. Okay, so I think about more about this Justice card. I'm going to think about things like, honesty, integrity, integration. So it's around those sort of things, about being fair around decisions and accountability, and our personal truth. If you are in the work situation, if there's anything legal coming up at the moment, it's going to be a very positive time for that. It might also be that if you're aware of any sort of devilish behavior and you put that in place, then that very much will bring about the positive decision in the workplace. It's around using the higher mind to balance out, really being aware of what's right at the moment and letting go of things that aren't good for us anymore. If you've entered into an agreement or a contract, if you've made a contract or an agreement that you're going to finish something by the end of the year, this card's really going to hold you to it. It's really important that you do. So be careful around making contracts or agreements, or making giving promises around things, knowing that don't promise something you really can't achieve or something you can't put forward, and knowing that working, you can't work 24 hours a day. So be realistic around what contracts or agreements that you put in place before the end of the year. It's that December push that we all get into, thinking we'll achieve perhaps a lot more than what's realistic. But it's definitely an opportunity with this Justice card that you will excel, and that you will make some really good contacts. If you applied for a job, it could be very positive news around that. If you're trying to do some sort of special competition type thing, or really work on your business and finances, this Justice card says that that's going to be really good for you during this week. That you're going to be very much in favor. So around that'll sort of that yes answer. Also keep in mind that you need to pay attention though. The ultimate thing about this card is says you need to be thinking about what's fair and just, and keeping that in mind around playing fair and doing things the right way, and not setting yourself up to create some unhealthy circumstances down the way because of your actions now. So sort of like, definitely cross the T's, dot the I's, do it the right way. Be fair and just, and be really realistic. Okay, so as the week moves on and we've sort of got the energy of these two really strong cards playing out early in the week, we now have the Nine of Wands. And what I think is happening here, the Nine of Wands, of course, is around that it's that revelation that you're committed to really finishing something. So this is really saying, if you've made those promises, as I said early in the week, you've set things up, and you've really said you can do it, that this card is saying you really now need to make sure you keep going and you finish. That even though you'll be perhaps tired and you might end up pushing yourself, if you make the promise, you've got to put the energy in and you need to finish it. People will be relying on you. So it's like, with that also said and done, then I'm saying this card is also saying, though, on the other side, protect yourself from overextending, protect yourself from overcommitting, protect yourself from letting someone else sort of push you or nudge you in an unhealthy way into making a commitment that really is not right for you and your situation at this time. So sort of cover yourself in that way. Also be mindful that sometimes other people's agendas can sort of perhaps not be in your best interest, so it can come across that they're not thinking about you. So it's saying here, just be mindful of that. It's not that perhaps they mean to be untrustworthy, but what happened is if their agenda is on complete opposing path to yours, it may come across that way. I also like to think of this card when I see it as around acknowledge what's your stuff and what's their stuff. It's your stuff if you've made the commitment. It's your stuff if you signed that contract. It's your stuff if you put your word to it. It's their stuff if they're just trying to push you into maybe completing something that they did. Okay, so recognize what do you own and what do they own, and then you'll be able to move forward in a really healthy way. And I like to think, you know, so don't be paranoid, you know, don't isolate yourself when you see this card. Oh my God, you know, other people around me are going to be pushing me and a bit untrustworthy and I'm going to be really exhausted. It's just about, if you do it the right way, if you do it with honesty and integrity yourself, if you dot those I's and cross those T's and you're really realistic and you let other people own their stuff, then you'll be in a really good place and you will be able to feel really positive about how the week flows. So I hope that was useful for you. If you'd like to catch up with me, if you'd like a private reading, please go to my website at kirrawoods.com. I am going to be putting up lots of free things and fun things to celebrate the holidays and the silly season, so please check my website and grab some of those free offers if you'd like. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Kira Woods Gold Coast and also on Twitter. So thank you very much. Have a fantastic week and I look forward to seeing you next week.